Hi, Omaima. Let's take a look at this set of essays you've sent us. Okay, here we go. We've got the shoe bar chart. It's very helpful if you can to provide us the image that you're referring to. It's not here anywhere. No, it's really helpful so that I can refer to it. Sometimes I like to refer to it when I give you suggestions, so try to do that in the future, okay? Okay, before I get started, I can tell you straight away that I see a problem with some of your data. You kept referring to the shoe sales in hundreds, but just as they are, they're actually in the thousands. So it's not 140, but it's 140,000. And so what that's going to do is that's going to really lower your score for task achievement because it's basically skewing the data off completely, giving inaccurate information. So definitely be aware of the figures that you're looking at and make sure they are accurate as much as possible, okay? Let's see what you wrote though. The bar chart illustrates the amount of two types of leather shoes sold in 9 European countries in the year 2018. With regards to black leather sales, Hungary led the sales at around 140 with a difference of only 10 for the brown. Followed by, that's not a full sentence. You should have a comma here or make this a complete sentence. You could have said, this was followed by Italy, which sold 125 compared to 100 for the brown shoes, not the brown ones. Interestingly, Belgium's sales for this type was approximately, get rid of at, 105, exceeding brown shoes by 100. Again, comma, the black type predominates in UK at 100 compared to around 75 for brown shoes, or compared to 75 for the other color mentioned, or I don't know, but this other one sounds a little strange to me. Okay, let's see. Turning to the brown leather sales, Poland was the top country in this regard and sold more than any other type by around 75. What does that mean? You're telling me that Poland sold 75 more shoes? That doesn't really help us because, I mean, the first figure you should give us here should give us a better indication of where this number is. It's not such a good idea to tell me that it outsold the others by 75. Tell me where this number is, okay? And then you can say that, for example, Germany was 75 less. That would make more sense. So again, this was followed by Germany, which had more brown leather sales than black at around 125 and 75 respectively. Then I don't really care for this. Then comes France. You're not giving me a ranking. You're supposed to be making comparisons. You're supposed to be giving me sort of meaningful data rather than just going down a list, okay? So this was followed by France, but I said you already said that. So you could have said third in terms of brown leather shoe sales was France with the same ratio. What does this mean? At 75 for brown compared to, all right. That, I don't understand that. What do you mean the same ratio at 75? Who else had 75? Because do you understand what you did here when you said it sold more by 75? This means that it sold 75 more than the other shoe types. So maybe you mean that, I'm not really sure what you mean here. I'm a little confused by this data. Let's move on. Overall, the two types of shoes, not shoe sales, the two types of shoes fluctuated. No, they didn't fluctuate throughout the year. You see, this is what you have to be really careful with. This is not a dynamic bar chart. And what that means is that you shouldn't be talking about increases, decreases, or fluctuation. What you need to be talking about here is clearly comparisons between and among the different types, between the different shoe colors and the different and among the different countries. So using the word fluctuate throughout the year is absolutely inaccurate here. It doesn't belong in this kind of chart. So, let's see. While Hungary was a leading country for black leather shoe sales, it is clearly evident that this type was predominantly sold in Belgium. What? More than in its counterpart. I don't understand that. On the other hand, Poland sold more brown leather than the other type. Um, Hungary, it was clear evident this was predominantly sold in Belgium. I don't understand this, I'm afraid. Hungary had the leading sales, and then I don't understand what happened with Belgium. I'm really rather confused here. Um, and then I understand that Poland outsold black, in brown shoes outsold black. But there is definitely some incoherence here. There are definitely some problems with the data. Um, so yeah, incoherence is a problem, some of the grammar is a problem, and some of the data is definitely a problem. So in those two areas for me, the biggest problems, task achievement and actually, yeah, task achievement because of your data, and coherence and cohesion because of some of this incoherence in these sentences, okay? Let's take a look at your task two. Okay, the Olympics. So here's what you wrote. Careful with your spelling here. It's not a double O because this is the word loose, which is an adjective. And also, you don't want an apostrophe here. What you wrote here is it is or it has, and you don't want that. You want just it's, which shows possessive. So it is argued that sports will lose its significance in the 21st century. I disagree with this view because sports help in building bonds between nations and motivates the youth to stay positive. Careful. Nobody talked about sports in this prompt, okay? It's talking very specifically about the Olympics. So for you to use sports as a synonym for Olympics is a bad idea. It's inaccurate, and as an examiner, it would look like a red flag because an examiner is going to look at this introduction and say, okay, wait a minute, maybe this candidate is misunderstanding the topic here, and maybe this is going to be an off-topic response. So it certainly does not help your argument at all to have an introduction like this, okay? Okay, the present century is going through massive issues. You don't go through massive issues. You could just say it is experiencing many issues. These aren't collocations that work. So the present century is facing, that's a good idea, is facing many issues. Various nations such as the United States, China, Russia, and Korea are engaged in conflicts which could flare to global war at any time. These games, which games? You didn't mention any games anywhere. So this is why it is so important to mention the Olympics here and probably here. So rather than saying these games, you could say the Olympic Games. Not only provide a good chance for countries to come closer through their athletes, but are also excellent opportunities for leaders from different countries to meet each other. All right, why? Here you have to ask yourself why. Consistent with this line of thinking is that the recent Winter Olympics was used by President Donald Trump and the leader of North Korea to meet and diffuse the tense situation in the Korean Peninsula. Thus, it is possible to state beyond doubt the only way to reduce global tension, okay, not the only way. Remember, you don't want to overgeneralize. So you could say that one successful way to reduce global tensions is through the Olympics. So, okay, essentially, you're giving me one argument. You basically said that countries come together through their athletes. You didn't really support that, though. You didn't really tell me how athletes come together. You basically just showed me about how leaders meet each other. So that was one thing you could have developed. Tell me a little bit about the athletes coming together and how this can create some international harmony, okay? So, moreover, there is ample evidence that sports are an excellent way to keep the youth motivated. The youngsters in the 21st century are more prone to anxiety and depression, and so they often consume alcohol and drugs as a remedy. The central reason behind this is that they do not channelize is not a word here, their energy in the right direction. For example, when youngsters prepare for national games, they use their energy for a constructive purpose. This often leads to quitting drugs and killing anxiety and depression. Therefore, it is conclusively clear that the Olympic Games provide an excellent outlet for youth. Okay, where is the rest of the essay? Number one, there's no conclusion here. So without a conclusion, you're not going to get a band 6 for coherence and cohesion. You're missing a paragraph. So it automatically is going to drop your score down to a 5 for coherence and cohesion. Okay? That's the first thing. The second thing here is, again, You didn't talk about the Olympics at all until your last sentence. So the central idea is not clear in this paragraph. We want to know why the Olympics are or are not relevant in the 21st century. Okay. You talked about drug taking youngsters, and you said that they have to prepare for national games, but we're not talking about national games. The whole idea of this is talk about the Olympics. So you never mentioned the Olympics until that last sentence where you say they're an excellent outlet. But again, how are the Olympics an excellent outlet? It's a paragraph essentially that is in. It's not developed, and it doesn't provide a central idea that supports the prompt. There was a lot of stuff you could have done here. You could have said not that sports, but that sports perhaps leading to the Olympics are an excellent way to keep youth motivated. Okay. You could say that the goal of the Olympics is a potential motivator for a lot of students to remain in sports at a high level, thus keeping them away from negative influences such as drugs and alcohol. This is because the endurance and sacrifice and dedication required to become an Olympic athlete allows no room for such negative influences, thus keeping young people on a straight and narrow path. They choose to take such a path because of the glory and fame and renown that it accompanies Olympic Games. Therefore, it is a very positive element in people's lives and something for many young athletes to strive for. So a paragraph like that would have made a little more sense than what you wrote. It's related to what you wrote, but again, the central idea was not clear until the very end. You talked about national sports, you talked about alcohol, but I wasn't really sure what you were talking about until I got to that last sentence. So this paragraph needs a lot of work. But for me, the biggest problem absolutely is the fact that you don't have a conclusion. Okay, so go ahead and correct these. I want to see these corrected, and I want to see what you write in your next set of essays. All right, good luck to you.